Being likable, being a person who attracts other people to themselves, I think will do nothing but benefit you in your life. When I grew up, I changed schools a decent bit. And so I remember anytime I was going to a new school and it was the first day, my goal was always to, one, make friends with somebody, but also make friends with somebody before lunch. One of my biggest fears was, sitting alone at lunch. And so with that fear pushing me, right, I had to get out of my shell, talk to random people, and try to make friends with somebody within the first few hours of the school day. Fast forward into life, and yes, I've seen how that has helped, but there is a fine line. I used to people please, and I'm sure I still do in some cases, but there's the line of being likable and people pleasing. I think that people pleasing stems more from that fear, right? It's you want people to like you. You don't want anybody to not like you. And on the other side of that line, being likable, it's no longer coming from a place of neediness. Now, the reason why I say it's a benefit is because we have to be real with ourselves. People will judge, people have favorites, there's nepotism, all of these things. Now, in a perfect world, these would be things you do not have to worry about. But the reality of it is that we do, work, school, extracurricular activities, hobbies, um, you know, potential business opportunities. The amount that somebody likes you, I think, does play a good advantage or it plays a big role in their decision making. So when I look back and I reflect on some of the biggest opportunities that I've had and the best where my network has, really came through and, saved my skin, they were all because these people liked me. And all the opportunities that I've had are from people that I know and I like, and it's the same thing vice versa. So I think it's important to be somebody that's likable, but not to need someone to like you, if that makes sense. You know how to be likable to someone, but you do not need it to feel good in here. So all that being said, I think there's a few ways that you can go and present yourself in a manner where it is easier for people to like you. A quote that let me backtrack. People like people that seem interesting to them. And that's like the key. You have to be interesting to that person. If we look at dating, for example, if the girl doesn't find you interesting, she's not going to continue. Same thing vice versa. If I don't find the girl interesting, what's the point in continuing? And that's almost with any relationship. So a quote to help with that, it says, I don't know who deserves the credit for this, but the quote goes, "To be interesting, be interested." And so what that means to me is, if you want to be interesting to somebody, be interested in what they're interested about. Now, people also have a really good BS detector. So you cannot be inauthentic. And if somebody comes to you and, for example, they just say they like cooking just because I see a restaurant right here. If you're somebody who's never cooked in your life and you do not like cooking and it doesn't even interest you at all, you can't fake it and make it seem like you're a chef and you know how to cook, blah, blah, blah. Like, somebody's going to be able to see through that pretty quick. However, though, when I find myself and I see somebody is interested in something that I'm really not interested in myself, that doesn't mean you can't ask questions about the topic and still have an interesting conversation about said thing. So when I come across this scenario, and if I'm not interested or if it's something I know nothing about, I can still ask, general questions. What got you into it? What is it about it that you like? And so on and so forth, just to kind of get my foot in the door. And then from there, it could be easy to transition to find something you guys may have common ground in, so on and so forth. But just being able to talk about something that people like is already going to make you interesting to them. I think one thing that took me a little bit to realize, I thought I had to be this extravagant person that, has all these accolades and all these achievements and things that I can talk about to be interesting. Most people don't care about that. People care about what they care about. And so, the more I've worked on this, the more I've realized it's not really about what I've done. It's more about what that person has done. And how it's about what they've done, being able to tell like how much they care about the thing or things that they've done. And then from there, 20, 30, 40-minute conversation, they really open up to you. And now, you find all these other things. And most of the times you can find something that you have in common. It takes a little bit of digging and searching, but more often than not, I see that it's there. And so now the benefit is that there's some type of relationship established. And so especially, in a work setting, or a networking event, something along those lines, it's like, it's not like 100% of the time somebody's going to come back, and be of some benefit to you or anything like that. No. I think more what it is you just never know in what scenario or circumstance you may find yourself in with that person again. I'll go back around and, give another example. When I had just graduated high school, I was working at Journey's, the shoe store, and then this gentleman came in. And he already knew the specific type of shoe that he was looking for and what he wanted. But even in that instance, he kind of gave me everything I needed to sell him something, but I still went through and tried to establish that relationship. So now as I, began talking to him more, I began to see how it was because of change of dress code and work, and then that led into a conversation about work itself and what he does. And at the end of that interaction, it turned into him actually offering me a job position. Did I know that going into it? No. Was I expecting that? No. Did I even have a conversation with him to try and get something from him? No. I like people. I like seeing and understanding what makes a person unique and interesting. And, from that place of curiosity and a certain sense of, I think, vulnerability, that relationship got established, and, something of benefit came from it. So if I was to say, how to quick summary, it is important to make yourself interesting. And you can do that by being interested in people. And the way you become interested in people is to see what they're interested in. And then just kind of, go from there. The benefit to that is, I think worst case scenario, it's repetition. You have a little bit more experience. It's a little bit easier the next time you do it. That's like worst case scenario. What happens more often than not, it's like now you got somebody on your team. You got somebody on your side. And again, you never know when you're going to find yourself in a situation or circumstance with that person. So I think it's best to take advantage of the opportunity that you have in front of you and be able to capitalize on it in whatever way possible.